The Sword of Sherwood Forest is scored by Alan Hodinott, who is the doyen of Welsh music, the most famous Welsh composer there's ever been, really. Hugely admired by contemporary composers and performers. He even has a concert hall named after him. He was born in 1929 and studied for a while with the Australian composer Arthur Benjamin, and then joined the staff of the Cardiff School of Music and Drama, the Cardiff College of Music and Drama, then joined University College Cardiff, the music department there, and rose to the rank of professor. And so was really sort of working in academe at the same time as being hugely prolific. I mean, he wrote an incredible amount of music. There are 6 operas, there are 10 symphonies, there are nearly 20 concertos, plus huge amounts of other music. He wrote in quite an advanced style, but he also wrote popular style music. There's a series of Welsh dances which are very lively and very accessible. But some very dark music as well. He's very influenced by Bartók. Bartók wrote lots of nocturnal music. So there's quite a lot of dark music with the name Nocturnes, which was a sort of predilection he had. He also used serial techniques, which he modified slightly to incorporate tonal aspects into it, a bit like Benjamin Frankel was doing in the 50s. He used chance elements as well. He liked what's called aleatoric music, allowing for chance in a performance. So he was able to spread his stylistic palette quite wide. And of course, in this film, he's not doing anything very experimental. This is much more populist, much more accessible music. It is indeed the only feature film really that he scored. He did do a film called The Horse Masters, which was a drama produced by Walt Disney, originally for TV, but it was sometimes shown theatrically. And that was about the only other film he did. He did do some documentaries. He did a documentary about the symbolist artist Odeon Redon. Well, actually, he didn't do it. His music was used. It was sort of assembled from pieces that were already written. There was another one about the artist Millet. He did a documentary about Pembrokeshire and appeared on TV a couple of times. He actually was one of the panellists on the popular TV show Face the Music, one of the composers who often appeared on that show. And interestingly, he also did do a proper score for an adaptation of Arthur Machen's supernatural story, The Shining Pyramid, in 1981, with who was in that? Edward Petherbridge and Anton Rogers were in that. It's very hard to locate now, but he did do a kind of gothic, or at least horror story. And indeed, some of his music is very like a kind of horror story in a way. The 4th Symphony is very dark and brooding, and it would fit a kind of macabre film rather well. The second movement has echoes of Bernard Herrmann's music for North by Northwest. It's got those sort of rhythms in it as well. So he could have become quite an interesting film composer, but chose mostly to stay in the concert hall. And he worked with John Hollingsworth on this Robin Hood film. It wasn't actually the first Robin Hood film that Hammer had done. The first one was called Men of Sherwood Forest, which had been directed by Val Guest in 1954 and scored by Doreen Carwithen, who later became Mary Olwyn. She didn't like the name Doreen, and when she married William Olwyn, she called herself Mary Olwyn. She was a great supporter of Olwyn's career and sort of sacrificed her own to promote his. But she was a very fine composer. So that was the first Hammer version of Robin Hood. And this one came along in 1960. So it's interesting that Alan Hodinott should have done just one film, and it should be just this particular kind of film. And he was asked to write heroic music for this heroic story, which was filmed in Ireland. So it's rather a lush form of Nottingham, really. I was born in Nottingham, and I don't think the scenery is particularly like it is in the film, but it's nonetheless very beautiful, very bucolic, and it requires a lot of sort of fanfares. in the music and also in the sort of music you see the performers actually playing. So you have a kind of fanfare to begin with. And that gets us off to a good start. And then a kind of syncopated theme. And then when the title comes up, the Sword of Sherwood Forest, he spells the syllables of the title out. The Sword of Sherwood Forest. That's the kind of thing James Bernard often liked to do in his horror films. Here we see Alan Hollinotte doing the same sort of thing. Then there's a more luscious theme played on the strings. And that provides a nice kind of contrast to all the heroics. The whole film starts off with a chase, and there's a lot of chase music in this film, and you can create chase music, film music, very effectively just by doing little ostinato patterns like that. It's all you need. Then you can bring something in on the top of it, and then you can have a fanfare. That kind of thing. It's simplicity itself, but very, very effective. A man is killed at the beginning, an unnamed character, played by Desmond Llewellyn, and when he is discovered dying by Maid Marian, we have a tremolo like this in the strings. And this motif in the bottom suggests that he's dying because it is the famous horror film cliche of a tritone, which is a symbol of either the devil or disorder or death in so many of these films. So it's, again, a simple little sign. It's all you need. Then when Maid Marian introduces herself to Robin, we have a little oboe theme, which is rather similar to the sound that James Bernard would have in many of his films for little love themes. I wonder whether he was consciously referencing the sound world of James Bernard there. He may have been, but it certainly reminds me of that kind of mood.
Now leave me.
Marian. Well, Marian Fitzwalter, if it should be your ladyship's pleasure to do any more swimming here in the forest, this shall be your pool, and I'll order my men to keep away from it.
Not all the music in this film, however, was written by Alan Hollinotte. The songs were written by Stanley Black, and there are several songs in this film which were sung mostly by Dennis Lotis, who was a bit of a crooner in the 50s, and he plays the character of Alan Adale. And so we have this kind of folky sort of song, which is accompanied by a kind of lute called a teorbo.
I would my dearest one were here, for here I lie alone. So long it is since we did meet, my heart is turned to stone.
So that creates a period feeling. It's got a kind of modal quality to it, a different kind of scale from a major and minor scale. So that's not actually by Alan Hodinott. To create tension again, you use the tritone. So there's a scene where Robin goes to meet Maid Marian at the Owl Inn. And again, all you need is a tremolo and a tritone. Instantly you know that there's something you should be worried about because of that sound quality. But when Peter Cushing appears as the Sheriff of Nottingham, very effectively he doesn't have any music. He's not sort of introduced with a great like that. It's much more subtle entrance, and that is really more effective. I think in many ways this is the kind of performance you'd have got from Peter Cushing if he was playing Richard III. It's his Shakespearean moment, really, and it's a fantastic interpretation of the character. Again, we have more tritones when the sheriff is pursuing Robin, and Robin's about to break camp to escape from him. Again, you get that sound. Two tritones, all you need.
You gave me your word, Sheriff. No trap.
This is not a game, madam. I'm dealing with criminals.
The modal quality that I've mentioned before comes back when Derren Nesbitt, who usually plays villains in movies, here he's playing against type as Martin of Eastwood, a good guy who's dying. He's been killed by the sheriff, and his dying moments are accompanied by this very sad little tune, which we've heard before in connection with Robin and Maid Marian, this sort of James Bernardian moment. That's all played on flutes, and then it's played on the oboe. Very simple, but conveying this sense of sadness that is required. And lo and behold, when he dies, we have a tritone again.
Martin.
Robin, I betrayed you.
They offered him free pardon and then shot him.
All right, Martin. We've moved camp. We're safe.
Robin then has a moment where he kisses Maid Marian, so we have to have something rather luscious. So Alan Hodinott brings in the sound of the celesta and the glockenspiel, which are rather more glittery quality to the sound, with cellos underneath playing this ordinary chord, but the accompaniment gives a kind of a fluttering intensity. There's also a medallion in the film which is very significant in the plot because it identifies the man who's going to be assassinated, or they want to assassinate. and this is accompanied with a motif on the trumpet. So every time that comes up, you know that it's referring to the medallion.
A falcon and a daisy.
Friar Tuck also has a little theme. Friar Tuck's played by Neil McGuinness rather wonderfully in this film, and he has a little bassoon tune. The bassoon is well known as a kind of comedy timbre, and it just plays on its own this little comedy motif. Very simple.
Come along, Isabella, you greedy animal. We've got a journey to make.
That fits the sort of quality of overweightness and obesity in Friar Tuck, I think. We have fanfares, so when Richard Pascoe's character, the Earl of Newark, is introduced, again, this simple fanfare. It's all you need, but it just announces him.
Well, I must be off. I have to get back here to meet a lady.
Oh, what makes you think a lady'd want to meet you? Oh, they've got visitors. The Earl of Newark.
There's a wonderful moment where Oliver Reed's character, Melton, puts up his falcon, and the falcon flies off into the sky, and the flute plays a little tune to accompany that. Again, it's hardly there. It's really just that chord, a diminished seventh chord. But it creates a wonderful sense of airy spaciousness.
Now, hit that falcon. One shot.
And then the bird is shot, and to create a sense of the tragedy of that, you've got that jarring discord, and the bird falls to the ground. Then there's a process of law taking place in the village of Bawdrey. So to change the scene, in a sense, you get another little fanfare, and you're into the new area.
You abomination.
That's all you need to do that scene of transition. A little fanfare. It's a little sort of tune for the music in an inn, played on a piccolo.
That's the sort of archbishop I like. Not like some. Here's to him. Oh, another member of the clergy.
It's wonderfully simple. That's all I can keep saying. But simplicity is the key thing in a film like this. The music is not dominating the action. It's not trying to be too clever. It's perfectly what's required. Robin is hired by the Earl of Newark to do the assassination that's afoot. And he says, you'll be able to shoot a man. And this sinister implication is caught by the music, where the brass play this tune. Immediately that creates the sense of foreboding. Something unpleasant is being planned.
If you can shoot a hawk high up in the sun, you'll be well able to shoot a man.
That depends.
On how much, you'll be well paid.
No, on what man?
Well, there's a fight, and for a fight, well, the tritone again comes in very useful. All you need to do is have a repeated ostinato in the bottom, like that. This is when the Sheriff of Nottingham fights Robin at Newark's castle, and in the top you have that tritone introduced with little rushing flourishes. more fight music, similar sort of thing. And so forth. And it all ends on a song. So we have a rather wonderful triumphant ending. Which is a song really that's proto-communist. You know, this is all about joining together, fighting the rich, redistributing wealth, and up the revolution really. And it ends with a nice chromatic ending. Finito.
Friar his blessing now will give, the outlaws spare the poor, and Robin Hood and Marion live in Sherwood evermore.